The name of the game out on the beach, get low as possible. Compose them on the right side of the frame, just get them coming across there. And now we can get a little bit more of the habitat, the clouds in the background. So watch, I'm gonna move over here and hide it with that little bit of green right there. And there we go, now we got this shot. I'm gonna go a little bit darker so I get more detail in my sky up there. And you know what? At 500th of a second, that'll be plenty. I'll drop that ISO down to 320. We wait for this guy to turn his head just right, compose him in the bottom right of the frame, wait for no birds to fly through, and we get a great shot. So back this way we go. There we go. Now we're gonna get up a little bit higher, get that fun little curious look. Here comes some laughing gulls flying right down, doing some fun maneuvers on the way. There we go. So we'll lighten that exposure a little bit. Get that, oh, regurgitation and feeding, all right. That was gross. All right, so we just got out here to Huguenot Memorial Park, just outside of Jacksonville, Florida. And today, the goal is laughing gulls. There's a huge colony, nesting colony of laughing gulls. We got a bit of a hike down the beach here. It's kind of cloudy, the light's not that great. Normally wouldn't come out in these conditions, out onto a wide open beach, but this colony of birds does have a lot of dune grasses and stuff like that around it. So I think we can get some decent colored backgrounds and stuff like that. And why not just get out, right? So today I'm out here with the Z9 and the 400-2.8 with the built-in teleconverter. The main reason being our last time at this colony, which was about a month ago, a lot of the birds were a little bit further in. So I think having the added reach will help, and the grasses can be a little bit messy up in the dunes and stuff. And so I do think that having the fast aperture and the longer reach can just help kind of clean things up a little bit. It does mean I'm not going to be able to shoot some real scenic shots today. I'm kind of limited into the tighter shots probably, but I think that's going to end up being fine. Let's see what else to think about. It's going to be, you know, it's soft light, so I think in general I can shoot a lot of different directions, which is helpful, but there is still some direction to the light right now. And if we get lucky, maybe it'll actually like pop out a little bit more and give a little bit more direction to the light. So we'll see. The name of the game out on the beach, get low as possible, water level, sand level, get things nice and clean. But then when I'm shooting up into the dunes and stuff like that, it's just going to be finding interesting foregrounds, backgrounds, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do if we can get some cooperative birds. There's thousands of them out there. I think we'll find something. So let's go see what we can do. So this is what happens when you come to a very busy beach. You can probably hear the insane bass going over here. There's just trucks on the beach over here playing music. So at this point, we're heading back down to where the laughing gulls are, and hopefully away from this insane music because it's just kind of crazy. I mean, there's tons of laughing gulls flying right here. You can see just a steady stream of them. And this might actually be a neat shot, getting some flying down the dunes here. So I might try that in a second here. All right, guys, so I just wanted to point out here, I've noticed the wind's coming from behind, which has these laughing gulls flying right over the top of these dunes in a pretty continuous pattern here. And so I want to try and get some shots just down the way here. So I'm going to make sure I'm at 400 millimeter. I'm going to move my focus point into the top right because I really want to show off this habitat, and I also want to try to sort of isolate individual birds here. So I don't want to have too many of them flying by. It's more like just the one, and I want them low so I can see the grasses. So kind of like this guy coming in right here. Just low, away from over the grasses there, no intersection. Fire off a few, and then we'll track him again. There, he's coming in really nice. That worked pretty good. There we go, got him. So I think that the conditions are just working really, really well for this. Now the one nice thing with the long lens is I can really get a nice tight isolated pocket here, get some of these grasses in focus that they're flying over, then a little bit of that blue cloud in the back. See, there we go, that one will be good, but too many birds intersecting. Let's pick up another one. There we go, this guy might be nice. But it would be nice, the one downside of this prime lens right now is I don't have the zoom, and so if I did, look at these clouds up here. They're beautiful. I'd have the grasses at the bottom, the birds flying through like that. It could look really, really nice if I had a zoom lens, So that's one negative of being stuck on this prime lens right now, but for those tighter shots down the way, I think it worked out really nicely. Here comes one more. Let's try one last one before we head out. There we go. I really like it when they get down towards the edges of the grasses, but I definitely want them in the sky. And I'm trying to keep a balanced composition the whole way. And when they're just up in the sky in the clouds, it's kind of boring. So it's all about those grasses for me. Something like that right there, off to the right, keep them balanced. And it is really nice how they keep facing towards me. Since I don't have the zoom, check this out. Here we actually have a pelican coming by. Looks really nice. Now let's wait for less birds in the background. There we go. We're gonna compose them on the right side of the frame. Just get them coming across there. And now we can get a little bit more of the habitat, the clouds in the background. That worked nicely. And now he's flying past me, so he's facing away. So we'll let that go. Here comes another one though. Yeah, other bird is kind of messing him up. But in any case, I could totally do this same thing with the Laughing Gulls. Just like this, right? Look at that. Wait for him to fly up just high enough. I'm definitely getting more clouds. I'm gonna drop my ISO a little bit here. Keep it, I'm trying to expose more for the clouds in this case. And so I'll wait for him to go a little bit higher. I just want them separated from the grasses, not intersecting. And there we go, flying right by like that. So, of course, when you don't have the zoom, what's the other thing you do? You just move further back, give it space, and you can still get those smaller in-frame shots. All right, so we're gonna try this. You can see we got a group of people walking up here. We got this flock of sanderlings right here. There's a really good chance they're gonna probably bump this whole flock. That might make them run towards us. It also might make them fly and take off. So we're just kind of setting up here. Although I gotta say, I think this group is being nice, these people. They're actually moving out to the left here, so that might not happen. But we were just gonna try and anticipate what might happen here and see. There they go, starting to run, hobble. This is definitely a challenge here. There's just so many birds. And a big part of the problem is right now, I'd love to photograph some of the stuff up in the marsh there, or the dunes, I'm sorry. But there's a bunch of birds right in front, so I don't want to walk through and scare them. So down here a little bit further, it looks like there's an opening of birds. We're gonna go down there, see if we can get in a little bit closer to the dunes and make something happen. But other than that, guys, there are just birds flying everywhere out here. Thousands and thousands of birds. All right, so we got one right here just kind of peeking out behind these grasses. There we go. Just try and get him with that. Composing the direction he's looking there. I'm gonna lighten it up just a little bit. I think I need to get a little bit closer. It feels like it's a little bit busy. Wow, it's an awful smell out here. There we go, let's see what this looks like. Now we should have a little bit more depth. Of course, now he'll move. Oh, the other one gonna take his place? No. This is the challenge of these places, guys, is there's so much going on. What do you do? How do you find a great shot? Can you find a great shot? Is it possible? So let's take a look up here now. We got these two birds sitting up in this space right there. Look at that, now it's just the one. That's kind of cool with him poking out of the grasses there. Plus, I'm gonna lighten the exposure a little bit. Plus we get the vegetation in the back, it's kind of nice. But we're not getting the separation on the bird. Now, we do have some spots over here. Those grasses are gonna look beautiful at 2.8, right? Look at that. So we've got really nice grasses in the background, but we need to find an isolated bird. So we got these three. I'm gonna go for that one in the back there. I think he's just gonna give me the best grasses. So I'm just gonna move to the right here and see if I can get him clean just by himself. Let's try this. We're gonna go up just a little bit higher now. There we go. Now, I am having that other bird in the bottom left right there, but I can just crop him out. Wait for him to turn his head a little bit better. There we go. We got a good exposure just right on the bird, on the white. The black's a little low. And since this is a portrait, I'm gonna try and get my ISO a little bit lower. Of course, I missed that flap. But just drop the shutter speed and the ISO. And then we'll get that. The other way, oh, here, and then it's good to take your eye out of the viewfinder, because look at this. Now we have a better situation here. We got this guy up here, great background. Look at this spot right there. See that white spot? I don't know if it's another bird or just an opening in the sand. It doesn't look great in the background there, right next to him. So watch, I'm gonna move over here and hide it with that little bit of green right there. And there we go, now we got this shot. I'm gonna go a little bit darker so I get more detail in my sky up there. And you know what? At 500th of a second, that'll be plenty. I'll drop that ISO down to 320. We wait for this guy to turn his head just right, compose him in the bottom right of the frame, wait for no birds to fly through, and we get a great shot. Let's wait for that head turn. Got him. So that's how we do this, guys, and that's a huge part of the challenge out here. It really is. There's just so many birds, there's so many options, so you really have to work hard to kind of narrow your field of view with your own eye sometimes through the lens, but just really narrow it down and look and see. Like, I could see those grasses back there were really pretty compared to some of these other ones, and I had the distance that I needed, the separation from my subject to that background, and I had the long enough lens here. So the 400-2.8 is going to render that background nice and dreamy, which is good. The 100-400 probably wouldn't have done as nice there, you know? The background would have worked, I just wouldn't have got that clean separation. So right now, this is the lens to have out here for those kind of portraits. Let's see what else we can find. All right, so Emily and I just noticed this. This sky just got real dark and dramatic. There's a little bit of light direction in this way, and so I'm gonna get low. The whiter birds are definitely standing out. So the Laughing Gulls are not bad here, but the Royal Terns and the Sandwich Terns are really standing out nicely. Here we go. You can see, like, I'm gonna have to bump up my ISO a little bit and my shutter speed. Here we go. We got, that looks like a sandwich flying by right there. So I really want them kind of in this zone right here. I really want them against the darker clouds. Even if they go against the lighter clouds over here, it doesn't quite give that same effect. So yeah, we're gonna wait and see here. And the next big piece of this is you need them flying towards you. So I'm more trying to watch with my eyes than put my eye in the viewfinder because that might limit what I see. So here comes one, but he's flying the wrong way. Here we go, coming right across. Ah, he went low too fast. Laughing Gull right here. Nice, that was a great, oh, that was fun. The way he landed there, floated right in. Some of these Laughing Gulls up here aren't bad at all. You got a turn coming right across here. Oh, look at these guys, just all kinds of funny behavior right here. Let's lower that perspective a little bit and check them out. There we go. So we'll lighten that exposure a little bit. Get that, oh, regurgitation and feeding, all right. That was gross. All right, guys, so check this out. I'm gonna show you this bird right here through the lens, and I want you to notice, like, the background is like not that exciting, right? But look behind it here in the viewfinder. See that hill right there? So check it out. A little bit of a step to the left here. Put him right under that hill there. Now, of course, I got another bird showing in the background, but see how much better that background is? Plus, the landscape now shapes around him, and I'll take that shot. Now, if I want more green above him, I have two options, right? I can lift the camera up, which I'm already standing up, so the only way to do that would be to like hold it over my head. But the other option is to simply back up. And if I back up, Emily shows up. If I back up, you can see the angle sort of changed here. It didn't change too much, right? But just remember that, you know? If I back up just a little bit, sometimes you can get those lower backgrounds to show higher. Now I'm just waiting for less birds in the background. And then let's try moving in a little bit closer here and really smooth that background up. Now, the land actually slopes up, so I'm getting even higher here, which is giving me more of that green background. Check that out. Lighten that exposure just a little bit. Make sure we compose him on the right-hand side there. Wait for him to turn his head. Come on, buddy. Right towards us just a little bit, please. There we go, right there, and we get the shot. I also want to add, in these conditions on a beach like this, you can do a handful of high key shots. So the background goes lighter, you expose just for your subject, it looks nice, but the light is flat. There's not a lot of color. Once you get a handful of shots of a specific bird doing that, in my mind, there's not a lot of really fun creative stuff. But when we have what we have right here behind me, dunes like this with greenery and grass, I can then put some color and some tone in the background, get some layering and some depth. It just looks a little bit nicer versus me trying to work with all these birds in the wide open space back here, okay? Definitely a lot of birds flying around here, folks. It's pretty cool. Look, we got this guy right in here. I just flipped the teleconverter in. I'm gonna lower it, the shutter speed, and see if I can get this guy calling. Look at the foreground grasses here. He moved out of it. Right in there was just like kind of a sweet spot, but he moved out of it. But here comes another one that might walk into it. Let's see. We're gonna pay attention to these guys. I don't want the grasses right behind them. So if I move over here, it maybe cleans it up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, nice clean background there. Now he's back in those grasses. Just gonna walk around, change the perspective a little bit. Here we go, coming right out. That's what I wanted, that little bit of a peak. Gonna bump my ISO a little bit. And this is where this lens shines. These closer shots, really blurring the foreground, making things look kind of dreamy. Look, I'm gonna get taller here, try and get rid of anything but just the green background. I do have that one blade of grass in front of him, but if I place it right there, it's better, but then my background sucks. So back this way we go. There we go. Now we're gonna get up a little bit higher, get that fun little curious look. If I can get some of these birds kind of flying from this lower perspective, check it out. Look at that, there's the nice shake off. That was fun. So we're gonna look for some of these birds cruising by. And with this, again, with this low perspective, right? Like, let's lock in, this is a tern. Actually, here he comes with a fish. I love trying to get him over the colony. There we go, we'll get him going across like that. But if we can get like a tern or a laughing gull just flying in right over top of the colony here, that could be really cool. Here comes one taking off. Here comes some laughing gulls flying right down, doing some fun maneuvers on the way. So we'll track them right towards us. Stick with some of these lower flying ones like that. Yeah, I really want them flying low. All right, so the last thing I want to try here is just seeing if we can isolate one of these birds and get a portrait out of them. So what we have to do is look for one of these like in the front here. We're gonna get this lower perspective. I will flip in the teleconverter. So we're at 560 here. Let's lower that shutter speed, focus in on this guy, and look at that, there we go, nice and clean. Now, our background isn't the best there. Some of that greenery was kind of right behind him, so if I lift up my perspective just a little bit, you can see I now get that green dune grasses above him and kind of going around the head instead of intersecting into the head. So we'll just wait for a nice turn towards us. All right, so we just noticed these royal terns over here doing some courtship behavior. So we just settled in, look at this, get that real low perspective, look how clean that background is. Oh, they're so fun. Gonna get just a little bit more shutter speed, a little bit more ISO, get sandblasted in the face. Thankfully, I'm using the flip screen right now. It's making a big difference because if I had my eye down in there, it would be pretty gnarly. I'm gonna try and isolate just this one bird. And then as he's walking into those dune grass backgrounds, the background just gets messier. It was so much prettier and dreamy out the other way. So I wanna show you guys too what's happening here. Look at the, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the sand blowing all over this, and in the viewfinder here, this is why I don't want my eye down here and why I'm using the flip screen. And I know a lot of people worry about sand, but this is dry sand. I'll show you real quick how I clean it off when I get back to the van. But this is not a problem. Wet sand is always a big issue. The dry sand like this on myself and on the gear, I just honestly, I never worry about it. It doesn't seem to ever really cause a problem in the camera gear itself. It just brushes right off later. All right, so I think that's a wrap here. It's getting a little bit darker out. We're about half hour before sunset, but as you can see, it's pretty stormy and cloudy. So yeah, the light's dimming, and yeah, had fun, got a lot of shots. I think the biggest things I want to sort of mention and kind of point out as a takeaway on this outing were when you have a place like this with this many birds, how important it is to be intentional, how important it is to slow down and be thoughtful about what you're doing instead of just kind of reacting to every bird that's around. It's trying to find a shot within the chaos of what's out there. The big lens today, the 400-2.8, allowing me to switch in the teleconverter for 560 helped out to isolate things and to give me real soft, dreamy backgrounds. But it did limit me for a handful of shots that I missed that I saw would have been really nice with a wider focal length, even a 100-400 or something in the 24-120 range had some options. So that was the downside of bringing this lens today, but I think it was a good choice overall. just for some of the action and isolating those birds and getting those clean, or those more clean portraits. All right, real quick here. So this is my best fix for getting rid of this sand. So you can probably see the sand all over this. Just a regular old paintbrush does an amazing job of brushing all of this sand off real easy when it's dry. It actually does a decent job when it's kind of damp and wet, but this is the key. This cleans up everything for me. I just kind of brush off, you know, all the stuff with a paintbrush just like this, and then you're pretty good to go at that point. Got to brush this, huh? Thanks again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.